Hello everybody, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the second day of the St. Louis Rapidan Blitz. Today we have again 3 games. Alireza played against Hikaru, Maxime, and Nodirbek. So in the first round of today with the white pieces, he started with e4. Hikaru played pawn to e6. He's playing French against Alireza, d4, d5, and Alireza goes for advanced French, c5, c3. You guard your pawn, knight c6, knight f3. Pretty normal. Queen b6, main line. I play bishop d7 here. Queen b6, a3. The idea is to go b4 and reduce pressure on d4 pawn. Knight goes to h6, pretty natural. Knight f5. Bishop goes to d3 to stop this idea. Pawn takes pawn, and here very nice move by Alireza. Nowadays, computers tend to sack a pawn for activity, and he just goes castle. It happens a lot in French because if black, for example, take on c3, you just take with the knight, and your development is worth more than material. So bishop d7, Hikaru doesn't take. It's recommended to not eat pawns in the opening. b4. Preparing bishop b2 and then take. Again, same story. If you take, I take, and I'm gaining some space as well, also trying to destabilize this knight on c6. So our focus is on this pawn on e5, which is a very nice strategic pawn, controls very important squares, and we want to attack on the king down the road. Rook c8, b5, attacking the knight. And here Hikaru decides to go knight d7. I think he's showing some nerves here. I mean, of course, knight a5 is very intuitive move and more natural. Knight d7, knight d4 allows knight d4 and goes for knight f5. Maybe he thought, okay, maybe he thought this line, for example, is just fine for black, and he was happy with it. Even with e4, he was okay with it. He wanted to play like this, but okay, he missed a detail. a4, very nice move, because here there's a5 ideas, and kicking out the queen takes a5. Alireza found a very nice move here, bishop a3, and knight e2 by Hikaru here, check, because he doesn't want to allow cd and redeem the pawn structure for white. He wants to put pressure on this c3 pawn, and this knight is always hanging to this pawn. Takes, and here Alireza decides to go back, which is a very nice move, because normally you tend to take, and the king cannot go castle and continue. But okay, the problem of white is what? Is this pawn. He just keep it protected and wants to develop the knight. So castles, c4, attacks the center, opens the bishop takes, guards the pawn, rook d8, and rook c1, queen b8. As you can see, white's position is very good. The queen doesn't have activity. This bad French bishop as usual. Everything is better for white. We have a space, but black doesn't have any weaknesses and very solid, and Hikaru loves to defend such positions as usual. So knight f3 by Alireza, very natural move. Knight f5, bishop d3, bringing the bishop to a better diagonal. Again, you can see this queen doesn't have a lot of activity. Bishop f8, Hikaru is waiting. Alireza goes. So in this position, it's not a puzzle, but it could be a positional puzzle. Like, a lot of players would get excited, go for g4, I don't know, queen e4, g4. So in such positions, you know you're better. The position is much better for white, much more activity for minor pieces. The queen not active, this bishop is bad, so you should build up on your advantage. Alireza starts, he understands the position very well. He goes for h4, and also he understands that black can play g6, for example, after queen e4, and he wants to meet that with h5, or before g6 plays h5. After bishop e8, and now Alireza changes his style. Suddenly after bishop of e8, he's putting all of his pieces on the 8th rank, and he suddenly changes his method of playing in this position. Best was to continue h5 and slowly play for attack on the king side, but he suddenly takes the knight and goes e6. It was a bit impulsive reaction to this position. This bishop was on d7, was controlling e6, not anymore, but okay, this approach And Hikaru is very good at punishing such impulsive moves that suddenly, okay, he has 2 bishop advantage, and he's trying to go for knight g5, but there is only way to defend this, and this is rook c1. Rook c1 and queen d6. If you go queen d6 right away, this rook on c8 is going to be problematic in a lot of lines. Like, I can distract the queen and then take on e6. There are some threats of forks. So he very correctly takes and goes queen d6. And here, of course, you don't want to take because black will take and there is no problem. Okay, let me turn on the engine, but not the feedbacks. Knight g5, and he correctly takes, because if you go f6, I will have a permanent pass pawn. Takes, queen exchanges. Suddenly in this position, Alireza lost all of his advantage because of this queen d6, and suddenly white is trying to find for equality. But okay, this rook got active, but I have a space on the queen side, and in this position we are attacking the pawn on a7. Hikaru plays bishop d7, bishop e3 attacking the rook, rook d3, knight f8 takes. Looks pretty equal. It's going to be draw, but after a6 here Hikaru sees the boogeyman and blunders very badly. This position, just take, bishop b5, check, here check. He has rook d7. Maybe he missed this, I don't know what he missed. Was an easy draw. He played b6, and okay, he saw the boogeyman, but he could defend it better. After rook a8 check, a7, here rook a6 and bishop b6. This position is completely winning for white. Bishop c6, rook c8, and here he got a very strange decision. He took the bishop, which leads to a completely losing rook endgame, because the rook is guarding the pawn from the side and not from front. If the rook was on a8, it was draw, but the rook is here. It means your rook is very, very bad, and I just need to bring my king, and not even for a second you can distract your rook because the pawn is free. So it was better for him, I think, to defend this position like keeping the bishops. White is still winning, but was harder. Okay, you could give check and put the bishop on d4. White wins, but I think it was harder. And yeah, Alireza of course wins this endgame. In this position there is only one trick, f3. Played f3 and rook g7, and Hikaru resigns after a couple of moves. So very nice victory. He had advantage, but okay, it happens. We take those. Let's go for the next game against Maxime. Maxime started with e4, c6, knight f3, d5, knight c3. He's playing this line, 2 knights attack against Caro-Kann, takes, main line, knight f6, and queen e2. Nowadays they play this move, very common move, and normally engines tend to take on e4. Alireza played bishop f5 as he normally does. Takes, queen d5, queen f4, queen d6 is another way of playing, maybe more precise, computerish. Bishop f5 is also a move, and Maxime played d3, which is not a very ambitious move. Taking, take, and then d3 is by far the best. Knight d7, g3, and now black has a very nice move here. Take, queen a5, and then take on e5. This is the main line. White could fight for advantage, but after d3 I play e6, and black actually doesn't have any problem. The bishop is out of the pawn structure, and I can take it with the queen, and this position white is not fighting for advantage anymore, surprisingly, because black just develops all of his pieces. Knight d2, knight d5, knight c4. Actually here Alireza could play bishop b4 and play on dark squares and put pressure. Bishop f6 is also completely natural. Rook d8, h3, bishop h7, king h2. White is preparing for f4, rook e8, knight b4. Okay, here knight b4 is a bit funny to me. Other way was bishop e7, f6 to kick out the knight. Also bishop b4, bishop f8. I mean, this, you should kick out this knight, but Alireza says, okay, what if I just hang on to this pawn? It's kind of annoying. And here Maxime plays bishop c3, knight d5, bishop b2. They repeat once, and then he goes bishop d2. he showed that he doesn't want repetition, but Alireza said, okay, whatever, knight b4 again. We attack the pawn again. Because if you go here, we go knight a2 and then we come back. So, because if you push this, you create weaknesses in your camp. I just come back. Like, also I can, oh, actually the pawn on d3, this bishop, I didn't see it too far, yeah. So yeah, Maxim repeats actually, and the game ends in a draw. So a very solid game by Alireza. So which leads us to the third game against Abdusattorov. Alireza plays e4. Abdusattorov goes for Sicilian Najdorf, and there is a very funny thing here that in this line after f4, h6, bishop h4, this is main line against Najdorf, queen b6. A poison pawn line, but here white avoids queen b2, of course, because if you take, you lose the queen. So white doesn't give up the b2 pawn. And sorry, what happened here? Oh, I have to wait. It's glitching. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. There was a glitch. So bishop f2, queen c7, queen f3 is the main line, and Abdusattorov in 2020, 2019, he knew this line like perfectly. He knew b5, I don't know, castle, knight b7, g4 here, h4 here, bishop d3, d5. Like, he has a lot of games in this line, like take, rook h3. He knew a lot of theory, but it was back into 2020, 2019. Maybe he was not prepped recently because computers changed. He was not confident at all, and he played something new, which I don't at first I thought, okay, he was so he knew a lot about this position, so he found something incredible which computers don't understand. Knight f5, you gotta take, and here he played d5. He's trying to play like alpha 0, but actually I don't know, he forgot or something. There is nothing to he didn't back up it well. e4, queen h3, and you're just down a pawn. You are just down a pawn. So it was a strange playing like this, not going for the main lines. He was not confident in those lines. Alireza just takes the pawn. I thought he wants to take and then take or something, but then I play bishop c4 and long castle, rook e1, 2 bishop. Everything is so good for white. So he sacks the pawn like this, tries to play for tricks. Alireza stops the tricks. Long castle. It was better to go short, but he was worried about attacks. But okay, there was not really attack. It was better to focus on the on your counter attack as well. So he goes long castle, and after rook d4, the position is completely lost for black. Bishop c5, rook c4, king b8, takes, queen e3, knight d7, knight e4 here, and in this position Alireza makes a huge mistake. He misses that his rook could be a bit weird here. Here bishop f3, you stable everything, you bring the rook after, it's +4 actually, it's just winning. He played queen c3, trying to exchange queens, but suddenly it's not very coordinated, like knight b6. If you go here, there is knight d5. That was the best approach. He had to go rook b4. He played rook c5 here. But you had to go here, like rook d4, takes, you exchange the rooks, because the bishop was hanging. Your pawn structure is bad, but you're up 2 pawns and you could slowly win this. He played rook c5, knight d7, rook a5, and the rook is very weird here. Rook c8 suddenly, knight c5, b6 is trying to trap the rook. And here, fortunately, Alireza had a lot of time to figure out that, okay, first we have to survive this bishop, and then we go here to attack the pawn, to face this with bishop f7, and even though the advantage dropped, white has a very easy game. So rook e7 guards the pawn, rook d1, b6, best was b5 according to computer to trap the rook, like rook e3 trying to take and march the king. But okay, white still could continue with b4, stuff like that, or just taking on b5 at some point. But he played b6, allowing rook a6, rook c5, rook goes in, rook check. Okay, better was rook f8 and then knight b5. And in this position, he exchanges. Okay, here he found a very nice idea. He could play this, and try to play like rook e1, king d2. Actually, after rook f8, the best try for black was this only move. To go for this endgame, but Alireza found a very nice idea. Take, bishop b7. Computers don't like it, but it's very creative, trying to pave the way for this pawn with the minor pieces. Also, we are up 2 pawns. So rook e2, mistake. The best idea was to go knight e4, knight d6, but again, a4, a5. You just, with 3 minutes on the clock, he got panicked. a4, knight e8, bishop f3, rook f2. Very tough position to play with the black pieces, just very tough. He has his last chance to play h3. If you take, wins the bishop, and also taking on g2, so he has to be careful about that. Knight d4, attacking the rook, check, king d2, h3, but now knight c5 check, and knight d3, you control f2, and you're getting ready to guard the bishop and take on h3. So in this position, you have a lot of pawns. The rook cannot handle huge pressures like this. Bishop comes back to the original square to pave the way, and after king b2, a6, Abdusattorov resigns here. So this leads us to 2 wins and 1 draw today. Very good result. Alireza joins the leaders with Maxime and Jan with 8 points after 2 days. Levon is in the 2nd place with 7 points. So tomorrow Alireza is going to play against Fabiano in the 1st round, and then Prague, and then Levon. For the moment, he's joined the leaders. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to click the follow button if you like my recaps, and subscribe. Thank you. See you guys for the next video. Ciao.